moment is mine, can't no one take it from me. What I built, who I am, unconditionally. I've left all of my fears and my tears on the ground. Oh, it's time to let it out. It's time to let it go.
Hey everybody, and thank you for joining me again. This is Jasmine. I wanted to talk a little bit about something that I've been learning a little bit more about, and I feel like it's something I already kind of knew and I was already talking about before I even knew what it was, on a spirit level. I just kind of knew it. It's called the laws of the universe. Something that was mentioned to me here recently, in a private, reading, and I was like going back and looking back at it. I'm like, this is stuff I've already been talking about to friends and family, just over the last 2-3 years at least. So I just kind of wanted to touch on that. So there's a couple different sites you can look at, but some have the 7 laws, and some have 12 laws. So it's the universal laws of the universe. So I'm going to basically go over the 12 laws. So the first law would be the law of divine oneness. So we are all connected. I've been saying that for years, that we're all connected, and because we're all created by the same creator, and universe, it created everything. God created everything, and Source created everything. And so we are all connected that way. We're all sparks from the one true flame of God. So we all carry the same vibration, of God, the essence of God. So we are all one with God. We are all have pieces of God within us. We're all basically, looking at a reflection of ourselves, even though we look differently on the outside. On a soul level, we're all the same. So, one of the ways that you can, put that to practice in your own life is to look at people more compassionately, with more empathy. And when somebody is being triggered and they're coming at you, in a very, it can be a very angry way. Let's put that way. It's really difficult. I can tell you, being a very passionate person myself, fire sign, that I usually have a knee-jerk reaction. And most people go into a fight or flight response. Mine is usually fight. And, just like a knee-jerk, push you out of my way, don't come up my face kind of thing. And so to me, I could see that would be very difficult, especially for people like me that are very passionate, that have a knee-jerk reaction, to temper yourself and look at it from a higher perspective in that moment. And that's one of the hardest things to do, I can tell you right now. I've tried exercising that, and sometimes I can do it pretty good. Sometimes it's more difficult than others, depending on, I think, how ungrounded you are when you enter into that situation. So if you're more grounded when you enter into that situation, it's a lot easier to take the higher perspective, and see it from, that higher perspective of seeing them as a wounded person and projecting that at you, than from when you're ungrounded and you're already all over the place, and you come into that, you're just responding, right? More in an ego. So I think that's something that everybody should do, including myself, is really try to practice that more. Try to be more compassionate, try to be more understanding at people projecting their wounds and their triggers at you, and not take that personally, even though they may be directing it directly at you, intentionally. It may seem like it. Just in that moment, try to understand that that's not you. It's something within them that is triggering the response, that they're just projecting that out at you. So anyway, the next rule would be the law of vibration. Everything exists at a vibration. Everything, even solid objects are listed at a vibration. There's scientific, evidence that have, been studying things like that. Quantum physics can tell you that. So I really enjoy learning more and more about stuff like that when they come out with a lot of studies that they've been doing. So you can Google and research that yourself. Everything is constantly in motion, whether it appears to your physical eyes to be or not. Everything has a vibration. Everything does, and just different levels of vibration. So I think it's really, when we're going to talk about this, probably in future episodes, because I want to have this podcast a little bit open, spiritually speaking, to, esoteric things, like, entities and ghosts and things like that. Because I think this kind of falls a lot into this particular law of the universe, the law of vibration. Because in a sense, when you're talking about everything exists at a certain vibration, higher entities, people that have ascended in a higher realm, will phase out of your reality at a certain point of vibration. And their physical nature will disappear to your ego eyes, to your physical eyes, because your physical eyes are only meant to see certain amounts of, some of you know about all this. It's only meant to be a certain vibration that you can see in your wavelength of your eyes. And so eventually, when things ascend and descend, they have to change their vibration. And especially if you're descending down from a higher vibration, you have to mentally really try to prepare yourself to come back down. And so I've seen or heard stories, not seen myself, but heard stories of people doing this. It's crazy out there, how people can eventually evolve to that point where they can, move objects, they can, telekinesis, they could make objects appear and disappear at will, things like that. It's really cool. I love listening to stories like that. No, I don't believe everything out there, but, I do have a gut, I do have intuition, and it's pretty accurate. So I could usually, pretty much pick out a lot of times when it is fake. So especially now with AI, it's kind of hard to tell, but usually you could tell. So anyway, it's really interesting, and we're probably going to be talking more about that in future episodes, about the vibration of things and how, as we ascend, we speed up our vibration based upon our thoughts and our feelings in that moment. So when we choose to live in a higher vibration of more positive thoughts, of love and gratitude especially, that will keep your vibration higher, and you'll begin to attract those things to you, those things that are on that vibration back to you. So that's another rule. I think that's later on in one of these rules, universal rules, is basically like attracts like, in vibration wise. There's a lot you can learn in this law alone of the universe. So anyway, we're probably going to talk more about that in future episodes. Law of correspondence. What it says is this law states that patterns repeat throughout the universe, and on a more personal level, our reality is a mirror of what is happening inside us at any given moment. As above, so below, as within, so without. And I've been saying that for years too. And I didn't even know I was saying these things. I just knew them. And even some of this stuff is even taught in the Bible. Some things you might recognize, like what I just said. So basically, if you're seeing a lot of crazy, chaotic things happen in your life that seemingly are not related, and you keep asking yourself, why do these things keep happening to me? Well, this is why. I've been learning this myself the last 2 or 3 years, why these things happen. And it's because like attracts like I was saying about the vibration thing. It is like if you're on a certain vibration of a negative thought pattern and victimhood and thinking everything's happening to you instead of for you, you're going to stay in that vibration. You're going to attract that to you, more of that to you in your life through people, places, and things. It's been proven. I've seen it in my life. It's not happy. It's not fun. Unless you're in a higher vibration, of course, then you're attracting nice, good things into your life. But, one way we can try to transmute that and try to change that is, raise your vibration, keep it higher, by listening to positive affirmations or positive subliminal affirmations behind meditation tracks. Try to maybe have positive verbal affirmations, listening to any kind of meditative tracks, sound frequencies to try to raise your vibration, meditation, prayer, verbally have gratitude for things every day, even throughout the day. Maybe have specific times that you, just give thanks to God or source, whatever you want to believe in, and providing those things in your life, food to eat, clothes to wear, a job, whatever it is that you have. And sometimes just changing your perspective on those things will make a huge impact in your vibration and in your life when you consistently do that. It really does help attract those better things to you. So instead of staying in a negative vibration of every time something seemingly bad happens to you, it's really not a bad or good. I've gotten past the thing where it's bad or good things. It's things that attract like things. That's what it is. It's negative, never negative or positive. It's just whatever vibration you're on, you're attracting the like to you. You're attracting more of that vibration to you. So if you're experiencing a lot of negative things, you're going to keep attracting that until you change your thought and your actions to consistently be more positive. So that's kind of how it works. Now, I can tell you my brother doesn't believe in that. He's one of those that is like, oh, I tried that, it didn't work. But, did you try it consistently? Probably not. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. There's just, shows that I have a relation of a brother that is kind of stuck in some toxic patterns of lack and victimhood. So, yes, we all have them in our life, people in our life that are like that. I just always chose not to do that and to take the higher road and try to stay positive. And it's always worked out better for me that way. So anyway, law of attraction. So that was pretty much what I was just touching on about, like attracts like. That's pretty much what it means is, when you stay a certain vibration for a certain period of time, you're going to start attracting the things on that vibration, that thought, wavelength. Hey, I'm abundant. You're going to start attracting abundance in your life in all forms. Love, money, whatever, abundance of people, whatever it is that you're attracting, you're going to attract, if you feel abundant and you stay in that consistent mindset and that vibration, you're going to begin attracting more of that into your life. The more consistently you're in that vibration. So I've started experiencing that as well. So it's pretty cool. Law of inspired action. Closely related to the law of attraction, the law of inspired action is all about taking those real actionable steps, physical steps, to invite what we want into our lives. So basically what I'm doing right here, that's an actionable step where I'm taking I'm taking action to create these videos, create content, and put it out there, okay? That's moving past a lot of my blockages of fear of what people are going to think about me. I had a lack of self-worth. And now these are things that I was just recently dealing with, because I tried to put videos out there about 6-8 months ago. Actually, last fall I started doing it. And I had them out there for a little bit, then I started critiquing them, and I started saying, maybe this isn't the way I want to go, and I deleted them, and then I started over and did 11 more videos, and then stopped. It got stuck, literally got stuck. And now I know what it was. It was a blockage. And a lot of it, I think, was a couple things. I was stuck on my twin, and fixating and obsessing about that, and over in my head. And then instead of surrendering him, which I did eventually do back about then, and then walked away and just gave it to God and said, look, I'm done. I can't, if you want me in your life, you're going to have to do whatever you need to do to keep me in your life, because I'm done. I can't do it no more. And I just gave it to God. I was like, God, I know that this is meant to be, this person's meant to be in my life. You'll come back. So, and then another blockage I had, I've recently discovered through recent reading was with a very trusted friend of mine, I call her a friend now, was a lack of self-worth. And that came from a childhood wound that I didn't even realize I still had. Again, I'm still working through my, shadow work and my journey as it comes up. I've been trying to deal with it, and sometimes I've been putting it off. I've been a little stubborn, I'm not going to lie. I can be kind of stubborn sometimes. And I get, busy doing other things and purposely keeping myself busy and not thinking I had something like that to work on. But I stopped working on it for a period of time, a few months, and it really came up to a head. And so I knew that I had to start taking some inspired action again to move past that blockage and past that fear. But once that wound did come up after she brought it up in the reading, I started crying. And then that whole night I cried. The next day I cried. So I knew it was a huge release for me of a blockage that was there. So here I am taking inspired action by posting these videos out there. I mean, whatever happens, happens, but I do believe it's for a purpose and a reason. I hope it helps some people out there. I do believe it will be helping people out there. Otherwise, why would I be guided to do it? So anyway, so that's, an example right there of what I'm doing here of law of inspired action. If you want things to change, you're going to have to start taking action to change it. For instance, what's happening in our world right now with bombing different countries, with, child trafficking, things like that. What are you going to do about that? Like, have you asked yourself that instead of just saying, oh, they'll take care of it? What are you doing about it? Are you speaking out against it? Are you trying to take some kind of inspired action to help support the efforts of stopping the child trafficking or whatever? Like, peacefully, of course. I'm not talking about going and bombing or killing and shooting somebody. I'm saying peacefully, of course. A high vibrational way. Let's put it that way. Like, what are you doing action steps wise to help bring about the change that's needed in this world that needs to happen in a positive way? What are you doing? So that's something to look at right there. Also, that goes with our self-healing, our shadow work, our work on ourselves. So if we know that we've got, like I explained to you, like a blockage, or we're stuck, we feel stuck, there's some fear there. There's something deep down there, like what was with me, that was keeping me stuck, and I didn't know exactly what it was. I did speak it out to her that I felt, what if people at my work or my bosses see it? I might be fired and I'll lose my job. Well, I mean, obviously, if that happens, it happened for a reason. So not necessarily a negative reason. Again, I don't believe the negative and positive. I believe everything happens for a reason and a purpose. It happens for you. So even if it was a tower moment, and that does happen, I have to believe, and I do believe, that it was meant to happen. God allowed that to happen for a reason, for my benefit of some way, even though it may not look that way to the ego mind. It freaks out. It's like, money, how am I going to pay for my bills and stuff? God will provide. I've always been taken care of. God has always provided for me. Even in my last second of having a deadline and having a late bill or whatever, having something shut off, I'm thankfully never been that close, but I have come close a couple times. And God has always come through for me. He has always been there. And I've always put my trust in him when it came down to it. And I said, God, I don't know where this money's going to come from to pay this bill or to fix this, whatever happened, broke down. But you do. And you're the creator. And I believe you. And I trust you on your word. You've always taken care of me. And so be it. Let it be. Let it be. If this is meant to, take me out, then let it take me out. But I don't believe that, and I believe that you're going to manifest the money from somewhere. I don't know where it's coming from, but I can tell you that money did come from somewhere. And sometimes it wasn't even where I was expecting it to come from. It just came out of nowhere. And I got a random check in the mail I wasn't expecting from some weird settlement or whatever. I'm just telling you, this stuff happens. Miracles happen. And because I took inspired action to work on myself, and I believed, these kind of things happen. So anyway, what can you do? Just start asking yourself, what can you do to start taking some kind of actionable steps to work towards things that you deserve, things that you would love to do, whether it be a hobby, whether it be whatever it is, go paragliding or parachuting, whatever it is. Like, start taking actionable steps with something that brings you passion and joy, or brings about a positive change in your world and the world around other people, because your world affects everybody else around you, whether you want to believe that or not. It absolutely does. So when you take action and help yourself in some way grow or ascend, you actually help the collective, believe it or not, because of the law of oneness and the connect. We're all the same vibration. We're all collectively helping each other. So when one of us grows, we help people around us grow. That's just how it works. Just think, like, if you know anything about plants, I don't know if some of you know stuff about plants, you know that they're all connected root-wise. Like, all of them around each other are connected. They all talk to each other. And I believe there are some studies now going on, or they have been going on, I've seen some information come out about it here recently, how they're studying the electrical impulses, and even like they can make music out of it and stuff like that now. But that's on a side note. But they've actually been studying like how plants and trees talk to each other in a forest, and how they even warn and proactively take actions to help protect themselves when they even see or sense fire, and they communicate there's fire coming. So it's very interesting to see that, because then you've got a tangible, scientific, proven like ways that you can see how everything is related. Everything talks to each other. You may not have even believed that trees can talk to each other. Yes, they do talk to each other. I've known that for years. I've known that animals, plants, and all of us can talk to each other on some level. We've just got to develop those skills to be able to listen. And I do believe way back we used to. I do believe that. We used to all be telepathic, and we're probably going back to that eventually. Because a lot more of people in my life I'm seeing are becoming more and more telepathic and intuitive. And they're beginning to pick up on things quicker than they used to even 5 years ago. I'm seeing it. So we're all beginning to ascend together. I'm seeing that. I'm seeing that happen. It's awesome to see that. But yeah, just try to take some kind of action, whatever it is that you feel guided to do. Law 6, law of perpetual transmutation of energy. So this is something I was talking about. I don't know if I'm going to post that video or not. I'm debating it. It was about sexual energy. And one thing I mentioned was sexual transmutation. That is a very real thing. It is very potent energy, and it should be used very, what's the term I'm looking for? Intentionally. Let's put it that way. With intent. But anyway, energy is neither created or destroyed. So it's always fluid, kind of. You can transmute it from one thing into another. That's just one of the laws of the universe. So you can use pain and suffering and transmute that into something beautiful in your life, growth for yourself, for instance. So I'm taking this pain that I've been going through with my childhood wounds and things that I've learned through healing through them, and I'm transmuting it to help others through these videos. That's a form of transmutation. You could also do sexual transmutation, like I mentioned a minute ago, to transmute things in that way too. So it's very interesting how there's different forms and different ways that you can transmute energy into something positive if you want it. So anyway, that's pretty interesting. Number 7, law of cause and effect. Relatively straightforward, this law highlights the direct relation between actions and events. It's what's important to note here, according to Kumar's, I'm reading this article, is we often can't see the effects right away, but they will come back around. So this is basically the law of karma and dharma, if some of you believe that. The golden rule, like Jesus even said, do unto others as you would want done unto you, because that's what's going to happen, as it's cause and effect. So again, getting past ego mind here, when you're looking at it from a higher perspective, from a higher, more godly realm level, there's neither negative nor positive. There's polarity. There's again, cause and effect. That's basically what it is. And so you take certain actions, you have that come back to you. You push out, it comes back. That's pretty much how it is. However you put out your intent is the important part. Your intent in your actions is how it comes back to you. So again, living in victimhood, there's no excuse for it, because you're putting that out there and then you're perpetuating it in your life. So this again is reflecting that teaching that, again, you're saying in victimhood, this stuff keeps happening to me. It's not keep happening to you. You keep attracting it. Because you keep saying it and you keep living in that level of thought, then you're going to keep bringing it to you. You're going to keep pushing it out at other people, projecting it, and you're going to keep attracting it back to you in that way. So until you do the healing work, until you start digging into those wounds and you start releasing and forgiving people and working through those traumas and releasing that emotion, and coming to peace with that, and then start changing your actions and your thoughts consistently, and start changing your patterns, that's when you're going to start changing your reality. And that's when things are going to start changing that's coming in your life. So I've lived through that. I've experienced it. It's hard, but it's worth it. And you can be done. You just have to consistently, work on yourself and consistently, take those action steps to do that. But just know you need to start recognizing where you're doing that in your life, because I'm guilty of it too. I'm still working through some of those patterns. They're very deep patterns we've been raised with. I mean, I've explained in a previous video how toxic my childhood was and my young adult life was with my parents, and things that, especially with my mom, what I went through. So there's a lot of stuff you got to heal from, a lot of toxic mind patterns and stuff of ways of thinking. But anyway, number 8, law of compensation. The law of compensation relates closely to the law of attraction and the law of correspondence. You reap what you sow. So that's a lot of us has heard that. Pretty straightforward. Main takeaway with the law stating your efforts will always come back to you positively. So whatever you give out. So when I say pay it forward, like you've heard that said, probably many of you, most of you have heard that. When you pay it forward, it always comes back to you in some way. That's what it's saying. So if you're seeking something, you must continue in some way towards your goal, and you'll eventually get it. So here's an example of how to apply it. They give to work in this law in a manner that attracts or compensates for love and support. For example, they suggest asking yourself, where am I being called to serve and support others today? I've been saying this earlier in this video. There's a lot of this. This is what we're going into in this new, density that we're going into, we're ascending into. All of us are doing it collectively. Is where can you help others? Finding ways, whether it be, somebody comes up short in the register in front of you and you pay the rest of their balance, or you buy all their groceries, whatever it is, or you buy, the food order of the person in front of you or behind you, stuff like that. Like just little ways, or even you see somebody struggling, an old lady or something struggling, you go to help her. Or whoever it is. You go open the door for somebody, give them a kind word, give them a smile, and tell them a compliment that day, make them feel better. You never know how that can affect that person. Again, I said this before. You don't know what that person's going through in that moment and how they may have needed to hear that exact thing, compliment you gave them, or a word of encouragement that they needed to hear. You don't even know how that affects people. I've had people, even myself, I was having a rough day and somebody gave me a compliment, and how much it changed the rest of my day. It just brightened my day. And I'm sure you've gone through something similar to that as well. So number 9, law of relativity. This law suggests that we are inclined to compare things in our world, but in our reality, everything is neutral. Relativism exists in all things, and in the end, meaning comes down to our perspective and perception, which can be different depending on what vibration we're at mentally and emotionally, depending on our experiences and our distortions that come from our, patterns that we were raised with, of what we experienced. So again, that can change throughout your life. Your perspective can change depending on how much healing work you've done, how much you've ascended and things. So it's pretty interesting. A lot of this stuff is. How you can apply it, it says, applying this law can help us understand the tougher parts of our lives with greater compassion. For example, for feeling ungrateful for our living situation, it could be because we're comparing our arrangements with someone else's. Wow, that hits home for me. I can't tell you how many times, I think a lot of us have been pressured to live like the Joneses, right? You want a certain nice house, you want a nice car, you want the nice clothes, the nice decor in your house. I'm very much that way. I like having that, but I've never in my past, prior to now, I haven't exactly had that available. And I come from kind of a lower income home life growing up, and have been trying to work and dredge my way up the hill, to get there. And I'll get there eventually. I'm definitely doing better, and I believe I'm in a very blessed place right now. Even though I may not be where my ego mind wanted me to be at this age, I've definitely achieved some goals finally that I've always wanted to do, like buying a house. It may not be the nicest house, but I'm very blessed and grateful to have this house, because it's the first house. I never thought I could own a house. And if it were not for, loved ones that helped me get it, I don't know if I would ever have owned one, but that was a huge goal for me. And I was able to help achieve that through the help of others. So anyway, that's one thing that you could do, is you could If you're feeling ungrateful for your living situation, it could be because you're comparing it too much to somebody else's that you want it to be, like envying. You could envy somebody else's. And you're seeing it from a lack perspective instead of seeing the blessings and being grateful for what you do have. So I started shifting my thoughts recently more towards, abundance and instead of lack. And I'm still catching myself. It takes work. It takes consistent daily work. It's hard to change and train your brain, but you can do it. I use a combination of listening to positive affirmation subliminals using the Sound and Soulful app in the App Store. If they have a 7-day free trial, and then I think it's like $20 a month, and they have like over 180 subliminal tracks behind like 8 different soundtracks. And all different things. They even have stuff for twin flames on there, but all different types of things, all forms of things in your life you can think of. It has positive affirmation, subliminal tracks for that. And I love that because that's really helped me a lot, balancing my energy, retraining my subconscious brain, because they've shown that some recent studies have shown that subliminals can change your thought patterns more quickly, subconscious thought patterns more quickly than anything that they've seen so far. So I started using those in lieu of more positive affirmations. I do speak some positive affirmations just to kind of get in the habit of speaking more positively. I try to do that at least once or twice a day if I can think of it. I do have some written down on little stickies and stuff. So I try to speak those things, like I keep them at work, I keep them at home, sometimes in my car. Try to speak those things and retrain my brain, because it is hard. It's hard. You've lived 40-something years speaking certain things into existence, and then you got to retrain yourself. So it's really difficult to do that, but you got to be consistent. And you can do it. I'm already starting to do it. I'm seeing the changes already. But yeah, I started being less focused on what other people have and more focused on the blessings that I had in my life. And it has changed everything in my life as far as attracting more abundance and things. So I just encourage you to try to do that too. Number 10 rule is law of polarity. That's, again, I mentioned that earlier, that's dark, light, darkness, light, feminine, masculine, everything has a polarity. And so that's pretty much what it says. Everything has an opposite. Love and fear, that's a big one. Warmth and cold, keys to understanding these are all two sides of the same coin. So how to apply it, they suggest with this law through the mantra all contrast brings more clarity. If you're facing a difficult situation like a breakup or a health challenge, for example, tune into what the opposite looks like, which can reveal a new perspective or lesson. So maybe visualization would be really good for that, like constantly visualizing what and feeling the emotions of what it feels like if it's a health challenge, of feeling without whatever that challenge is, feeling like what it felt like before you had the challenge, and how you felt great and whatever. So that would be a great thing to do. Number 11 is law of rhythm. Cycles. Oh my gosh, I was just saying this to somebody at work months ago. That's crazy. So cycles, everything has cycles, and there's cycles within cycles. That's what I was telling them. And again, I don't know how I had this information. I had this information. I just knew it. But there's cycles within cycles. Even our solar system has cycles. I'm sure most of you know that. And then there's cycles even within our evolution here on Earth. There's been cycles, cyclical cycles. And if you go back to even this, what some consider a myth of Atlantis, so some people consider it's historic. That was a cycle where, we had the beings had ascended to a certain point spiritually, and then the technology kind of, ego came in and they descended back down, and it caused destruction and all that. And so we went to a dark ages, and then we were coming back out again. So we're going back up to a golden age right now of eventually working towards, peace and love and unity, and into fifth dimension. And so we're working towards that ascension right now. And there's a lot of things coming to the surface for people to look at and work on, especially within, our cultures, our world right now, the stuff going on with the bombing, different places in the Middle East. there's a lot of things breaking down that need to be broken down in religion and cultures and things. And things are just not working anymore. And people are freeing themselves. And then there's things that need to be changed. And so, out with the old and with the new. That's a cycle coming where we're ascending. We're breaking down the old belief and patterns, and we're coming into a new belief system. What do we believe? What is truth? And that's coming, knowing thyself. That's what we're coming into. Each and every one of us is in a form of knowing thyself, is coming back to yourself, asking yourself, who am I? Like, God, well, who am I? Like, what, you're just waking up. You're like in the middle of your life. That's what a lot of people consider a midlife crisis. I'm at that age where you're getting divorces, you're quitting jobs, and you've probably been there many years and been very stable. You're going a completely different, way in your life, more spiritual, and that's we're in a cycle. That's a cycle we're going in right now. We're all kind of being activated, right? I think, a lot of us are, to going through cycles like that where we're questioning everything we believed in. We're starting to change what we believe in. We're going a different direction in our careers. And, we're going towards truth. We're seeking truth. And we need to be going within and saying, what is truth to me? What is this? And they're questioning everything their parents taught them. They're questioning everything society and their culture and their religion taught them. And that's what I'm going through. That's what I've been going through the last few years. And so, coming back to, learning who you are and knowing thyself is what brings you on this journey of enlightenment and spiritual awakening and ascension and breaking off those old thought patterns, those old belief systems, the distortions, working through the traumas, the healing work that we need to work at, to let those old things go, the old world and the old way of being, and coming into the age of Aquarius. And so that's what we're doing right now. So everything has a cycle, and we're in that cycle right now of breaking down and destruction and death of an old way of being and more masculine, overbearing, and dominating society to a more feminine, caring, unity, love, creation, creating a new thing for humanity. And we have to destroy the old before the new can be born. So unfortunately, we're going to have to go through some tumultuous times to get to where we need to be. And sorry, there was a fly flying around in here. And unfortunately, that we're going to have to go through some times. And it's going to be a little scary for some people, especially those who really haven't done the work, who haven't, let go of the old way, the old systems, the old way of understanding things, old cultures, and haven't started doing the work. So anyway, we're all going through it. Number 11 is law of rhythm. Cycles are a natural part of the universe. Physically, you can think about the seasons on Earth. In our own lives, we can remember that integration is just as important as growth. Well, I'm going to say, this is coming from Mind Body Green article website. They're saying in our own lives, we can remember that integration is just as important as growth. We expect ourselves to be one way all the time, whether we're thinking about our health or our productivity. But this is not sustainable. How to apply it? Take note of your inner rhythms and try to work with them instead of fighting them. Feeling run down, maybe it's better to give yourself some rest instead of powering through. I've actually been doing this in my own life, and I didn't even read this article. I've been guided to do that. I've been guided to start listening more to my body and going according to my own body's rhythm of when I need more rest and when it's time to take action and have less rest, or when it's time to not eat and time to eat. So I've been going through a rhythmic fasting, just listening to my body's rhythm and doing intermittent fasting that way. Instead of having on Monday, I'm going to do this. I've started going along with the flow. Again, flow state. That's what we're going into, is learning how to go with the flow of your body's rhythm. Your circadian rhythm even is probably some people's changing, but you just got to listen to your body and just listen to how you feel and just pay attention more to how you're feeling and go along with what you need, what your body needs, sustenance even wise. I started switching a little bit more, incorporating a lot more fresh fruits and vegetables, mostly vegetables, but a little bit of like blueberries and strawberries and things like that into my diet. And I noticed a big difference, even just celery. Big difference in my digestion and the way I feel overall. I can definitely tell it's helped my vibration. I do believe that we're going to be getting away from meat products eventually, being guided away towards that and more towards a more vegetarian kind of diet, just because that itself, if you think about how you feel, I want you to think about this. And I've started noticing this about myself. When you eat meat, especially red meat, you notice how it weighs you down, and it really takes a lot for your body to digest, and it wears you out. It makes you super tired. Same thing with carbohydrates. So like breads and stuff and sugars. So you'll go through a spike, an insulin spike, and then you come down, right? And you're so lethargic. Your eyes are heavy. You're trying to fall asleep because it's taking a lot of energy from your body. There's this fly that's bothering me. It's taking a lot of energy for your body to break that down and digest it. Whereas if you were eating something more like from the earth, like a plant based, you don't notice that as much. I don't know if you've ever noticed that. I have. So when I started eating like avocados and, blueberries, in small amounts, obviously, as I listen to my body again, if I feel like I've had enough, I had enough. But instead of like mindlessly eating, like when you're doing something, I try to be a little bit more present and mindful when I'm eating. And your body will tell you when it's had enough of whatever you're eating if you listen carefully. So I started noticing that recently. So I'm starting to incorporate more fruits and vegetables in what I'm eating. And I've started noticing that my creation energy has just been skyrocketing instead of being weighed down and I'm tired and don't feel like doing it. So now I've got the extra energy and I don't even need caffeine or whatever to get through and do stuff in the evening, with whatever I need, like if I need to do something in the evening. So just start doing that. Start making small changes, I just suggest, and see how you feel. Just take note of how you feel after you eat certain types of foods. It'll tell you a lot about your body's rhythm. Law of gender is the next law. Obviously that I would mention that, with the law of polarity, you have masculine and feminine. Everybody has masculine and feminine aspects in themselves. As we are all created in the creator's image, creator was, in my opinion, creator is neither gender, it was both. One, masculine and feminine in one. And, the Bible kind of talks about more of a masculine is the way I understood it. It was more masculine and the way it was talked about. But really, I think the feminine aspects of God has really been shut down and blocked and stuff and I do believe, creation, if we both have masculine and feminine within us, then we are created in two genders. Then why wouldn't the creator also be masculine and feminine? Honestly, if you think about it logically like that, they would have to know both and be both in order to create both. So that kind of makes sense. But yeah, that's another way of polarity right there, is masculine and feminine. Obviously, masculine traits are like the protector, the provider. Feminine traits are more the nurturer, the take care of the household and the children, nurture them, show compassion, empathy, care for others. So that's more like the feminine. And creation, they create the babies, right? I mean, the masculine obviously helps. He gives to that, but the woman is the one that grows the baby and carries that seed in her that grows and evolves and gives birth. So that's the other feminine aspect. So anyway, we've been through the 12 laws right there. That's pretty interesting. I probably, will be talking about some of this in later videos with other people, most likely. I love talking about stuff like this. I learn something new every day. I have a lot to learn. But I hope you join me for future videos. And if you want to like, comment, subscribe, feel free to do that. I'd love to hear what you have to say about some of this and your insights as well. I can learn from maybe. But keep it positive. As I've said before, please keep it positive. And I hope you catch me for a later video. Take care.
It's time to let it out. It's time to let it go. Parts of my past I can't control. So tonight we're celebrating. What tried to break me, but now I'm strong.